Hello everyone, how's it going? What I want to do today is I want to share with you a piece of music that I wrote a good while ago now. It's probably around 10 years old at this stage. And it's a setting of Psalm 137, which is by the waters of Babylon. It's a really, really sad song. Certainly the text, so why am I smiling? But it's a really, really sad song. And it's written during the Babylonian exile in the 6th century BC. And it's one of these psalms that is really, really very, very much born out of human experience, the human experience of exile, a human experience of oppression, of suffering, of mockery, of loss, of profound loss, at being away from your homeland, your family scattered to the four winds, possibly killed. And so the psalm, it's one that, you know, there are loads and loads of musical settings and beautiful settings out there by many composers, from Palestrina to Christopher Walker, and then of course my own is maybe a contribution to the repertoire as well. So what I want to do is just want to show you the score. I've never done this before in one of these little tutorial videos, but here we go. I'm using technology a lot these days, as there are many people. So it's scored for two cantors. The lovely part for assembly, very lyrical line for assembly. Always useful in these days to have a smaller choir, and of course maybe this is the thing. So SAB choir, when we return after lockdown, what will our choirs be like? What will the choral landscape be like? So it's always useful, I suppose, for composers to write for smaller choirs as well as bigger choirs, and of course piano then as well, not organ, but it would work well on organ. So you have this piano introduction, and then you have your little three-part refrain with descant, okay, and then you have two verses that are for unison. No, one verse for unison, solo cantor, and then two verses for as a duet. So you can see down here the duet, and actually both of these lines work quite well as the melody, which is an interesting one. We tend to think of the melody being on top, but actually they both work quite well as the melody. And then the third verse. When I was growing up as a child, I used to think that, this verse, which was actually the psalm response that we were using, "Oh, let my tongue cleave to my mouth, if I remember you not." I always thought it was a bit odd, you know, cleaving to my mouth, you know, it was very strange. And if you look at the text of the psalm, "Oh, let my tongue cleave to my mouth, and let my right hand wither." And it was only later on, maybe I was in my 20s and I was reading some sort of theological discourse or whatever on this psalm, and I learned that this actually refers to music. And letting my tongue cleave to my mouth is the inability to sing, and letting my right hand wither is the inability to play music. And again, it's linked to the grief. You know, it is very hard to sing a song when you are distraught. It's very hard to sing, as in verse 2, to sing these songs of Jerusalem in an alien land. And yet in verse 3, "Let my tongue cleave to my mouth, let me never play music again if I forget you, O Jerusalem." So it's a very, very powerful psalm. It's very just full of imagery, the trees beside the river, the captures. It's one of what are called the deprecatory psalms. So thankfully we don't have the very last couple of verses. We don't have the last couple of verses in the lectionary. The last verse is almost like a call for revenge against those who oppress us. And I don't think revenge really has its place in the liturgy. It probably did back then, and it's a very, very human thing to want to exact justice on those who oppress us. But it's also a very human thing maybe to forgive as well. It's a very divine thing to forgive. So those two lines about getting your little ones and dashing them against the rocks is not in the lectionary, and maybe thankfully so. So what I'd like to do today is I'd like to play a couple of the verses. We'll take a look at verse 1 and 2. It's available from Cherrybrook Music, as always, and you might like it. It comes up this coming Sunday. It's probably not an exact setting of the text that's in the lectionary, so if you belong to a denomination that looks for the exact text of the lectionary, you might find a use for this psalm in somewhere else in your worship. I think it was Marty Haugen that used to refer to these paraphrased psalms as psalm songs. They're kind of hymns or songs that are based upon the psalms, but they're not a very strict presentation of the text in the lectionary. So let's have a look at it. So it's a very mournful psalm, and yet there's kind of continuous movement, maybe. I don't know, when I set those 10 years ago or whatever was I thinking of the flowing waters of Babylon? It's hard to know. But hope you like it and hope you find some use for it in your liturgy. Thank you very much. Bye bye.